Welcome back to the channel. Nah, this ain't the farm. Just so you know, Key Farm is normally a channel about farm stuff. We got donkeys and horses and goats, and they're all the time doing interesting stuff. We got pigs. Don't get attached to the pigs. Anyway, I'll put videos, our other videos, in the end cards, and y'all check out the channel. Maybe you're just here for the golf cart, maybe you're not, but we do other fun stuff as well. This is not our main deal. There are channels that convert and stuff like this, and hopping up golf carts and go-karts and motorcycles, stuff like that. That is their thing. That's not our thing. We're simply doing this because we think that a golf cart would be very useful around the farm. So, you should have already seen the first video. If you haven't, it'll be in one of the end cards, so you can back up. Alright, first things first. This is an ezgo 36 volt. Used to be. Now it's no volts. I'm putting a Harbor Freight Predator 212 in it to start with to get all the mechanics right. And I know a lot of you are thinking, don't waste your time with a 212. It's not enough power. And it's more power than this cart came with. This cart came with a 4-horse motor. Now, it was an electric motor, so it had a whole lot more torque. But this 212 with a torque converter will have more power. This thing new from the factory went about 13 miles an hour. I don't know what it's going to go with this 212, but once all the mechanics are done, to upgrade from a 212 to a 420 will be simple. Everything from the motor back stays the same. All I'll have to change is the motor and the torque converter, and I have a tiller that motor can go on. Alright, I don't want to get you bogged down in too much of that stuff. First thing we got to talk is coupler. Alright, check this out. Alright, that is a 13/16 bore. Pull the spider out. Jaw coupler. I ordered it from a place called MRO Supply. 13/16 will not go on that shaft, so you have to take a 1/4 inch or 3/8 rat tail file and just go all the way around that thing and open it up just a little bit, and it'll slide on there. Now look, this one is merely on there with the set screw tightened down. Right there. Now, it's tightened down between 2 splines. That may not hold it. If that doesn't hold it, no big deal. All I got to do is take a Dremel tool and cut a little keyway in there. Any amount of key will keep that thing from spinning. So that's the plan. But my plan was I wanted to use the original coupler, but let me show you why I couldn't. Alright, y'all, I'm spending a little bit of time on this because really this is the most difficult part, in my opinion. Getting all of our new stuff that we can buy so it all works together to the stuff that already comes on the cart. So you see this? This is the nose of the old motor. 19 splines. Well, see, I got these jaw couplers. I went ahead and ordered 3 of those. Simply because if you don't meet the minimum, you got to pay shipping anyway, so you might as well just order more parts and get free shipping. So, these jaw couplers, with that spider in there, they work together like that. And the whole reason jaw couplers were invented was to take up minor misalignments where 2 shafts meet. Now I'm building a stand right here, where 2 pillow block bearings are going to sit right there. And I'm going to drive everything to the rear end through a jaw coupler. Right here is a 5/8 jaw coupler. That's probably the very coupler that my 5/8 shaft, I got a splined shaft right there. Those are the bearings. There's my sprocket. I'm going 1-to-1 from the torque converter. Torque converter's right there. It's got a 10-tooth sprocket on the inside of that driven pulley. And that's a 10-tooth sprocket right there. I'm going 1-to-1 right there because this right here is 6 1/4 to 1 turn of the wheels. So I can always go bigger with a sprocket right there if I need more power. But right now what I'm going for is speed. Alright, so I cut this off of there. I tried to true it up. I mentioned taking it to a machine shop, but you know, not everybody's going to have access to a machine shop, so I decided not to go that route. Now, it may have to go to a machine shop in the future, and I will cut this back apart and try again, but I'm going to be honest with y'all. This is so crooked, it will not work. When you jack one wheel up, and you put that on there, and you spin that wheel so it spins this shaft, it's so crooked it will not work. I'm going to work on this thing into the night, but let me pause this and I'm going to pull the plate out and show you what I've done so far. Okay, one thing before I pull the plate out. Ow! So you see these arms I got going back? First of all, I just used scrap metal that I had laying around. What I did is I notched those arms. You'll see it when I get it out. But I didn't want to weld to the rear end for this part. I wanted this part to be able to float on the rear end. And up front it's going to set on top of the rail. And I'm going to cage it in where it can slide a little bit frontwards and backwards as the rear end moves. But it won't be able to go up and down. So then, back here, to keep me from having to weld these pieces to the rear end, I just bought some cheap U-bolts, welded those on there, and they work perfect. And it's going to make it so the plate can come in and out very, very easily. Now I'm going to take the plate out. Alright, so this is my engine mounting plate. At first, I'll be honest with you, I made it this short, the engine would barely fit on there. But then I remembered that to tension my chain, the engine has to move forward and backward on the plate in slotted holes. So I had to add about 5 inches there for that to be able to happen. Alright, all I did is take a piece of 5/8 bar and notched it up there, and it'll set right on the frame, and I'll cage it in. This plate is reinforced underneath it with angle iron. I tried to do it in such a way underneath that it's not going to interfere with the mounting of the motor. However, I did want some of the motor mounts to go through the thicker metal. But even if it doesn't, if it's just in the thin metal, that's fine. And then you'll see at the back here, these things are 1/4 inch wide. So the up and down, they're good. I mean, they'll hold even a 420 with no problem. And then I notched them and put U-bolts in. So basically this thing just slides in, it sets on the rear end. See, got all my hardware there in the bucket. These little shackles on the bottom. Shackles, that's not right. Not the right term. Alright, so what I'm working on now. You see this small piece of channel that I've put right here? This box is going to be shortened to about this wide. And it's going to be welded there, and that is level. And then, on top of that box, this plate's going to be welded, okay? And the reason I'm going to shorten that is because I got to be able to mount a pillow block bearing there, and I got to be able to mount a pillow block bearing there. And so that my bolts don't run into this, it's going to be thinner and go right there, and this will be mounted on one side. This will be mounted on the other, mounted on the other side. So that's the concept. That's enough talk. Time for me to get to work. Check this out. So I got that base just clamped to there. Then I got the stand on it, and I intended to have to put shims in. So right now I got a 1/4 inch shim in. Alright, when I had that bearing right there, mounted right there, it wanted to hop up and down like something wasn't true. But when I do it like this, and I turn this wheel right here, I mean, that bearing's not even, the only thing holding that bearing down is its own weight. And that is spinning so true. And this has got solid bearings in. I have seen on the internet where people have just welded a gear straight to here, where all the force was right there. And they were running a much more powerful motor than this. Well, even more powerful than a regular 420. They were running a hopped up 420. So, I think with just one bearing supporting it out there, and pulling on that gear, I may leave that one off because it hopped up and down. Now I do have more pillow block bearings. They came 4 to a pack, so I went ahead and got 4. It may be that bearing, and see, these things swivel inside the housing, and that may be why it was hopping up and down, and that would straighten itself out. So I'm going to try a different bearing, and what I want is 2 bearings mounted on there and it to spin that true, because that is smooth as silk. My brake's dragging a little bit, but nothing's binding. So we're getting close. I mean, this is fabbed up, it's tacked. We're just a matter of a little bit of welding and a few bolts and mounting the motor up front on slots from going down the road. But I really want that other bearing there, but if it's not there, it's not a big deal. Alright, I tried another bearing in there and it bounced a little. I put 1 washer to shim it right there, and it's gonna have a little bounce, but it's running true. And I could always mount that front bearing on a little piece of rubber that would allow it to move just a little more. But see, we got rubber in here that I used to call those a spider coupler. Look here. In the whole first video, I called that a spider coupler. It's a jaw coupler. The little piece of rubber in the middle is called a spider. Oh, by the way, my sister said if y'all were playing a drinking game and you took a drink every time I said spider coupler, somebody would die. So don't do that. So it's spinning that true, and nothing's bolted down. That's just the weight of the bearings holding it down. So you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and weld all that up and start drilling some holes and get these things mounted. And that looks pretty close. I mean, it's not separated any more than that, and nothing's holding it against it. Nothing's bolted down. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now, my chain's going to have to kind of run, it's got to run down a hill, so this is going to have to be notched out. But that's what they make those and those for. So, alright, here we go. Alright, YouTube. So, my buddy Hank stopped by. You remember him from videoing the pigs, and oh yeah, I was up in the barn seemingly talking to myself, but I was talking to the camera, and Hank walked up. So you remember Hank the Tank. So anyway, Hank come over and lifted this thing up on its side, and I welded all that. Yeah, I know it looks terrible. My major wasn't welding. So anyway, pillow block bearing is bolted on. We got just one on there now. Look, I'm not saying we won't add the second one later, but spin the wheel. Look, we are meshed up very good right there with the jaw coupler. Got our 10-tooth sprocket on there. 2 set screws and a key. Got a key there. Of course, no key on the bearing. I got it pressed in as tight as I can get it right here, and I got it locked down with these 2 set screws, and that bearing is locked down on that stand. So now we got to mount the motor, route the chain, and see what happens then. See what happens. One more thing. Since I got this gear and it is keyed, and my shaft has a keyway all the way through it, when I mount my motor, if it's not perfect, see, the thing about the motor is your chain has to run through that little gap right there. And it can be done, but I have seen where people, will hit right here or right here. So, I mean, I'm going to mount the motor as close as possible, but I can always move this gear a little to the right or left. Alright. Alright, check it out. It's about 10:30 at night. I've had the Predator running about 30 seconds. Here's what I got. I added a spring to help it get back to nothing. shakes a little bit. I tell you what, the whole plate is bouncing. I'm going to have to come off of right here with a U bracket and weld it into that. Hey, the mechanics of it are working. I guess I'll get it off the trailer and see what happens. Now, I do not have the accelerator hooked up yet. I'm working it with my hand. So I'm going to try to drive with this hand and video and work the throttle with this hand. Ooh, this is a recipe for disaster. She's alive though. Alright, so it's got a good bit of pep. Alright, now, I went with a 40 chain instead of a 35, and that may have been a mistake. I mean, it's working, but there is not much clearance for 40 chain in there. I'm going to have to look up how much thinner 35 is, and I may go to a 35 chain. Alright, it's Chris from Key Farm. I hope you enjoyed it. It works. It's real buggy still. Foot feed's not hooked up. I'm going to continue to work on it. Whew, alright, it's the next day. Go 16 miles an hour down the road, cruising speed, 16 miles an hour. That's kind of what I was shooting for. That's pretty fantastic. I have had to stop and work on it twice, however. Let me show you why. This set screw on the jaw coupler keeps backing off, slings the key out, and then I have to work on it. So this time I've put this collar on it so the key can't come out. Let's see if it works. Alright, I've been riding it. First test drive by Hank the Tank. Gas on it, Hank! Floor it! Hank's not flooring it, he's babying it. Alright, so I drove it to the farm from where I was working on it. That's about 2 miles. Alright, so 1990 ezgo marathon. 3 weeks ago, it still had the racks in it to hold batteries. Now it's got a $106 motor, $57 torque converter, round about $75, $80 in other parts. So my buddy gave this to me for free. I got maybe 250, 280, somewhere like that in it. And it'll go down the road. I just brought it to the farm. On a flat, cruises 16, 17 miles an hour. It's clicking back and forth. So let's not oversell it. Let's say 16 mile an hour. My brother-in-law, he and I both rode it around the yard. I'm about 180 pounds. He's a little over 2. So carrying 400 pounds. I am extremely happy with it. I still got a few problems back here. I got the motor bouncing up and down just a little bit. I'll strengthen that up. But hey, there you go. Easy go conversion.